You want to look it over for a minute. But to hold the coffee in the hand when you pray, that would be a problem because maybe you're going to be afraid. Say it again. You're not finished. If you finish your prayer, so then you're not in the middle of praying. They're talking about in the middle of your praying, you're holding something while you're doing the Amidah. That would be the issue. Good morning. If you're in the middle of the Amidah, and while you're in the middle of the Amidah, you're going to go ahead and want to that would be that's the issue that we were talking about. We can look at the Shulchan Aruch on that discussion. Right, our Gemara said, our Gemara was on the bottom of Mem Aleph on the base. There's one, the Gemara seems mainly to talk about see for sure the Shemona Esrei, for sure the Amidah, the Gemara is talking about you can't hold things. The question is, what about other parts of davening, right? The Gemara is focusing on the Amidah. So in the Shulchan Aruch, it says in Orach Chaim, in Simin Tadik Vav, Sif Aleph. So let's see what it says in the Shulchan Aruch. So it says like this. It says in the Shulchan Aruch, when a person davens, kushum espalel. So the language of the Shulchan Aruch is when you're davening, which would indicate the Amidah, but the Chafetz Chaim says, Hu hadin during Kriyat Shema and Psukei de Zimra. So that answers your question, Ralph. Once you said Psukei de Zimra, you said Baruch Shama, you said Haluk, you're middle of the Halukas, Ashrei, all that Psukei de Zimra, you cannot be holding items. You can hold a sitter in your hand, but foreign items should not be held. You should not be holding tefillin in your hands, other things in your hands, no plates full with things, not a knife, not money and bread, all those things, like we said, because you're going to be focused on the item that's in your hand. You don't want the money to fall. Certain things that you don't want to fall. And the Shulchan Aruch says, but lulav, during the time of the mitzvah lulav, as the Gemara said, that you're allowed technically to hold in your hand, because the holding of the hand is a mitzvah, because that you have a mitzvah to do that day, and you're not gonna lose focus when you're holding the lulav in your hand. And technically, we saw that in the Gemara. It's interesting that the Chafetz Chaim doesn't make any note, because we saw something about that yesterday, that people are not on the level to, maybe he makes a note over here. Maybe there is a note from Chafetz Chaim that, no, he doesn't make, but we saw yesterday that not everyone's on that high level to say that they are going to hold the lulav in their hand, and they're not going to lose focus, even on the holiday of Sukkot, right? We saw that Anshe Maiseh, we saw that the Gemara said that the people that were in Yerushalayim, people of the people of Yerushalayim would actually hold their Omar Bar Amema said to Rav Ashi that his father would actually pray holding on to the lulav in his hand, the Gemara said. And the Gemara said, actually, that's what the people of Yerushalayim, they would actually hold the lulav in their hand when they prayed. And the Gemara said, because since it's the time of the mitzvah, you're so focused on the mitzvah that you're not going to, that it's not a distraction. It's like you're flying high. The love of the mitzvah that you have of the lulav makes it that you're not missing in your concentration during the Amidah. And the Ramah, Ashkenaz rabbi, says that a person, someone who's medakdek, someone who's very meticulous, would actually hold his lulav when he goes from his house to the shul, also during the time of davening. And then he says, the Achronim say that today it looks like you look like you're acting. Morning, Morris, good to see you. It looks like you're acting with gaiva, that you say with that you're acting too big, that you hold that you're in such a level to be actually concentrating on your davening, that you're such a person that you can hold the lulav and during your davening, during your shema, and it's not going to disturb you. So generally, we don't see anybody holding the lulav during the Amidah today. But in Shulchan Aruch, technically, he says, you can actually hold the lulav during the Amidah, during the Shema, because it's not going to distract you. So people have to be aware what they are holding. The best thing is people shouldn't be holding other things in their hands. See, the question would be holding a tissue in your hand when you are davening the Amidah. Question is, are you going to be particular about are you worried about the tissue falling from your hand, or you're not really care about tissue? Maybe a tissue might not be something that you worry about. See, things that the cases that the Shulchan Aruch, what? Right. So the Shulchan Aruch discusses the things that the Gemara says. Morris, just to bring you up to date, we're talking about things that a person shouldn't hold certain things in his hand while he's davening Shemona Esrei, while he's davening Amidah. He shouldn't be holding because it's going to distract him from focusing on the davening, because you're afraid it's going to fall from your hand. But those are things that the Gemara gives case, a knife. If you're holding a knife, you're afraid the knife is going to fall, it's going to hurt you. Or if you're holding bread, morning Simon, that the bread falls, it's going to get ruined. You're worried about it. But I don't think people are so worried about a tissue falling from their hand, unless you're in a place there's no other tissues. And if that tissue falls, you're going to be stuck. So then maybe you're going to be worried about that tissue dropping from your hand. So the way the Yalkut Yosef Shulchan Aruch says, when you daven or you say the Kriya Shema, don't hold in your hand tefillin, don't hold some other thing in your hand, because you're going to be concerned that they fall and they're going to be disgraced. They're going to come to disgrace. Let's say if a sefer falls on the floor, so there, and then you won't. Therefore, you're not going to be able to focus your concentration on the midah. Similarly, anything that will fall, that will break. Glass, holding a glass in your hand during the midah or during the Pesuk of the Zemra. Now, yes, if you went ahead and you prayed holding something else in your hand, you still get credit for the prayer, but you did not do it the way you should have done it. Now, he says you're not supposed to hold a child in your hands while you're davening Shemona Esrei, right? That. If you're holding the child in your hands, you're going to be focused on the child. The child shouldn't drop, shouldn't fall. If you're not going to be focusing on the prayer enough.
Other than Shemona Esrei, while you're getting up to that, can you sit before me?
Okay, so that we have to look more into about, when's the appropriate time if a person wants to take, to drink certain things. There, we have to look more into that. Obviously, before the best place to do it is before you pray. You know what I'm saying? Instead of, during the praise. Okay, so that's a little bit about not to lose your concentration, morning, Adam, when you're going ahead and pray. We learned in the Gemara about the idea of how the rabbi spent $1,000. Rabbi Gamliel sent $1,000 for an etrog, 1,000 zuz, a lot of money. And why did he spend so much money for an etrog? So the Gemara says because he had such a love for the mitzvah, right? That was the idea of spending so much money. So what is the exact responsibility? Now there's a concept. It's something called hidur mitzvah. When you do a mitzvah, you're supposed to go ahead and beautify a mitzvah. What is the responsibility of beautifying a mitzvah? So he says, so the Shulchan Aruch brings the following. Some say that if you find two etrogim and one is more beautiful than the other, you buy the nicer one as long as the nicer one is not more than a third more than the value of the first etrog. The etrog one etrog costs $30, and the net etrog costs $40. So $40 is a third more than the etrog that costs $30, right? So you should not spend. You should not. Your response. There is some say that you should go ahead and spend the $10 more, but you're not responsible to spend more than $10 more for that mitzvah. Morris, is that clear? That would be the idea. Now, what does it say in the Yalkut Yosef? So he says the following. Let's see if he says. Okay, maybe in the Yalkut Yosef he doesn't talk too much about this mitzvah. So that's a little bit about, so it sounds like to me that the fact that Gamliel spent more than a third. If he spent 1,000 zuz for an etrog, that was something that the Gemara says there's a certain mitzvah to spend up to a certain amount more for a mitzvah to beautify a mitzvah. Doing more than a third is above and beyond. You're not asked to do that, but of course, if you go ahead and you do that, you would there's great reward that you went above and beyond. No one told you to do it, no one asked you to go above and beyond, but you went ahead. You only had to spend $40, let's say, for the etrog instead of 30, and you spent 100. So that's you went above and beyond in that mitzvah. So that would be a little bit, the amount regarding hidur mitzvah, regarding beautifying a mitzvah. Okay, but now on 41b, and by the way, when you beautify a mitzvah, when you spend more money to perform a mitzvah, it shows your love for the mitzvah, right? People spend money on what they appreciate, what they love. They buy certain blinds, curtains, shoes, or whatever, suits, or whatever they spend more money on, a ticket to a game. But they have a certain love, they spend more money. So if you spend more money for a mitzvah, it indicates that you're a certain love for the mitzvah. Not that you just want to just get by to do the basic minimum. Rabbi Yossi Omer, the bottom of the page is 41b. What is it? 41b4. Rabbi Yossi Omer, the last line of the page. Yom Tov. That's going on the Mishnah. The Mishnah stated that Yom Tov Rosh Chag, if the first day of the holiday came out on Shabbat, and you went ahead and you forgot, and you took the lulav into Reshut Rabim. You went ahead and you carried the lulav from a private domain, from the comforts of your house, which is a private domain, and you went out into the street. And we're talking about a street that has the status of a public domain on a Torah level. So that means in one of the 39 malachot of Shabbat, you cannot carry from your private domain to public domain. You can't carry from your house to the street, or from the street to your house, and you can't carry also 4 amot, can't carry about 6 to 8 feet in public property. You can't go to public property, pick up something on public property, carry it 6 to 8 feet, and then stop. That also would be a biblical prohibition. There's 3 basic cases of biblical prohibitions of carrying private to public, public to private, or within public, carrying it Dalan Amot with 6 to 8 feet. Therefore, the only time we can carry from our house to the public street is only if there is a what we call an eruv, in a place that you can make an eruv. Not all places can you make an eruv. Some places are considered a biblical domain on a Torah level, a Reshut Rabim on a Torah level, which an eruv will not help in such a case. And there's a whole discussion halacha, what constitutes a public domain on a Torah level. Some say that you have to have 600,000 people in that area, in order for it to be a public domain. So therefore, all those suburbs, all those little places, little towns, right, Adam? Those little town USA, all those places that are not such heavy populated areas, those are places that you can make an eruv in general, that an eruv can be made. The discussion comes in places like Manhattan, Brooklyn, all these type of places, which is heavily populated, very dense population. That's the question, halacha, can you make an eruv in Manhattan? Can you make an eruv in Brooklyn? And that's a big discussion in halacha. So not everybody carries in those places. Morris, growing up in Brooklyn, did everybody carry in Brooklyn? No. Even today in Brooklyn, here we got a man from Brooklyn. I don't know, he's not from Brooklyn, but you grew up in Brooklyn. What? But in Deal, yes, because Deal is not the level of Manhattan or Brooklyn.
Not Lower East Side.
So according to Ramosha Feinstein, you cannot make an eruv on the Lower East Side. So until all the years we did not carry on the Lower East Side. There was no one would go against Ramosha Feinstein. It's his Lower East Side, his neighborhood, to ever put up an eruv on the Lower East Side. When he was the rabbi of the town, he said you cannot make an eruv. It's only recent history that some people might have done certain things but nobody, all the shuls in the Lower East Side, that no one carries in the Lower East Side.
What about Williamsburg?
So Williamsburg also, until, for all the years, they did not carry in Williamsburg either. I don't know what now. I'm saying some things have changed over the years. Certain rabbis have permitted certain things, and I'm not familiar enough with Williamsburg. What did you say? 5 towns. It's a much smaller type of area compared to suburban. Exactly, suburban area USA. That's where you would have more
They send out a text of you, they still.
Right, they would send out a text. Is the eruv up, the eruv down? Sometimes the eruv is, sometimes the string, whatever gets, with the winds or storms or things that might break the string, and they put up some string, when you're walking, in that beginning of that area to show you're entering like something that looks like a doorway of some sort, string and side posts that to show you, to recognize the reason. This is an eruv, and that's the only reason why you can carry. It's not a biblical domain, and having that recognition, putting up this eruv, because what is the concern? The concern is if you carry, let's say it's suburban USA, right? As Adam said, suburbia USA, where it's, let's say, according to those opinions, that's not considered a public domain on a Torah level. But there are opinions that say even suburbia you can't carry, you can't make an Eruv. Because they hold that that's called a public domain on a total level, even when you don't have 600,000 people. That's like the Rambam's opinion. The Rambam's opinion, Maimonides, which does not require the 600,000 people in order for it to be a place that's considered public domain on a total level. Therefore, you'll have people that will not carry pretty much even in suburbia either. They will hold you cannot make an Eruv in suburbia. But the general consensus of most opinions is a place like suburbia, you can make an Eruv.
This last paragraph here seems like they're condoning carrying left.
That paragraph in the Mishnah is saying that there is an allowance to take the Mishnah is talking about a time period during the time of the Beit HaMikdash. They were allowed to take the lulav on the first day if the first day of the holiday came out on Shabbat. Good morning, Aaron. They were allowed to take the lulav on the first day of the holiday on Shabbat, but not to carry it in the street. The Mishnah stayed. They would bring it to the synagogue before Shabbat. What would they do, Morris? They would bring the lulav and the etrog to the synagogue on Friday, and before Shabbat on Friday, and then in the morning everybody would take their what. Pick up their lulav. That's right. That's right. If you look back at the Mishnah, Ralph, on 41b, was probably 41ba or 41b2, you'll see the Mishnah. The Mishnah stated that they would bring the lulav before Shabbat. What do you say?
We have our lulav all the time.
Yeah, you have your lulav all the time.
We get it from our own, stays here. We buy it, we water it.
Yeah, but most people, first of all, a lot of times, not everyone is praying in the same place all the whole time. Yeah, very good. And second of all, a lot of times people will actually bring it back home to their house, or not everyone. You might have bought it in the market and you brought it to synagogue. You didn't necessarily buy it from the shul. It's not like everyone bought it from the shul and it's in the shul. It always stays. It started from the shul and ends in the shul. You would pick it up. You had your own bush in the back of you. Where'd you get the aravot? Maybe you had your own bush to cut the aravot. You bought hadas. You got the willows from your own bush, and wherever you got the etrog, someone traveled. And not always that. You traveled somewhere. You picked up an etrog. You have it in your house. Not necessarily you bought it that everything stays in the synagogue. In the old days, in the time of the Beit HaMikdash, they actually allowed you. They told you to take the lulav on the holiday, but you should not take it. You're not allowed to carry it. You had to be very careful not to come to carry it. And then eventually they just said you should not take it at all, even if the first day comes. When the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed, from then on they did not. They told you not to take the lulav on the first day of the holiday, even if the first day of the holiday comes out on Shabbat, which just shows you the seriousness of carrying on Shabbat, even carrying unintentionally on Shabbat, that we see that what are we concerned about? We're concerned that a person might forget, right, Aaron? If we would allow you to take the lulav on Shabbat on a Torah level, you're not doing any malacha. You're not doing it. When you take the lulav on Shabbat, you're not violating it. You pick up the lulav, you're taking the lulav. What are you? You're not doing any sin. But the concern is the rabbis, the Rabbanan, are concerned to protect us. They don't want you to violate the Shabbat. And if you go ahead and you take the lulav on Shabbat, you might come to what? Carry the lulav in this, forget and carry the lulav in the street. Why would you forget and carry the lulav in the street? Let's say you forgot the bracha on the lulav. You don't know what the bracha is, and you're not going to be able to make it to the synagogue. You're in a place there's no synagogue near you. We don't recommend that, but you were in a place there's no synagogue near you, or whatever the case was. You might go to the rabbi or someone to ask him, what's the bracha on the lulav? I forgot the bracha. I became a chozeh b'tshuvah. I want to know what the bracha. All right, Rabbi, could you show me what's the proper way of waving the lulav and the etrog? And you might come to forget, and you go in and you carry the lulav in the street. So because we want to protect from unintentional violation of Shabbat, the rabbis instituted that what? You sit back and you don't take the lulav on Shabbat. In order to protect, that just shows us the seriousness of forgetting and carrying on Shabbat. Forgetting. That's why people have to check their pockets before we heard about that on Shabbat a lot, right, Adam? Checking pockets before you go out into a public dome, into a place that you can't carry. You have to make sure that you have to check your pockets. That's why because you might forget to carry something, and it's an unintentional sin. I might forget. I forgot it was Shabbat. I forgot I had to take it out of my pocket, or whatever it might be. So therefore, you have to go ahead and check your pockets. I personally, I don't put anything in my pockets. I try never to put anything in my pockets on Shabbat. You know why? Because I'm afraid I might carry it into the public domain. So as a preventive measure, I never put. There are people that see put things in their pockets on Shabbat, and they're on top of their game. They make sure they check their pockets before they leave the house. I don't. I like to avoid possible. I like to take the cautious route.
What about talit?
So talit you're wearing. There's no problem. You could, if you let's say Shabbat morning, you have your talit in the house. It's not in the synagogue. The synagogue does not provide talit. Let's say it doesn't have so many talitim. They have a lot here. You say the bracha on the talit, put it on, and you wear it to the synagogue. And wearing it is not carrying. It's like clothing. It's like a piece of clothing. It's a cover. It's a garment. The talit is a garment. That's what you're going to see at your wedding, even if you get married at night. There's no mitzvah. You don't make a bracha on talit at night. You don't make a bracha putting a talit at night. But you say bracha she'achiyana v'kimana v'kiyana lazman hazeh on the talit at night, and you put it on because if it's a new talit, if you're using a new talit at your wedding, a lot of the Sfardim, they wrap the talit at a wedding. So you're making the bracha on the garment because it's a garment. It's a garment. It's a new talit. You're not making the bracha on the tzitzit. You make a bracha because you now have bought yourself $100 new, something you don't get every day, whatever, 100, I'm throwing out a number, $100 garment that contains tzitzit, but the shechianu is going on the garment that you're putting on for the first time. Because the Torah says your garment, your four-cornered garment, you have a mitzvah to put tzitzit. Meaning the tzitzit that we put on is on our clothing. So the talit is really a piece of clothing. So instead of we go ahead and we buy a garment to put on that tzitzit on that clothing. Exactly, provided that the talit they're using is a new talit. Yeah. But if they're using, most people, thank God, are able to afford today a new talit. I would speculate 50, 60 years ago, I don't know if everybody was able to afford a new talit or everyone bought a new talit for the wedding. Maybe they just used, maybe the rabbi had a standard talit that everybody was speculating, maybe they used.
What about like reading glasses? How do you bring that with you? You wear them and you could see.
Right, so the reading, so many synagogues have a box of reading glasses. They have the box, but that's not wearing. That's not wearing it. So then that's not. And that helps you see.
Well, reading glasses, you can't just put it on like that. It's right. Retarding you seeing. It's only for reading, so you have
right. But then you're not really gaining when you're putting the reading glasses in the street. You're not really, when you wear glasses in the street, you're able to benefit from it. What benefit are you getting from reading glasses walking in the street? Are you able to see? Right. So now, if it's a nice style, if it's today glasses became a very big fashion. People spend who knows $500 for glasses, $300 for frames, right? Am I correct? It's a lot of money. So Ralph, if it would be worn, people would wear it for style. You know what I'm saying? If it has a purpose, people would wear it for fashion. A nice pair of glasses, I would presume, therefore, even if we reading glasses, if it's fashion. But if it's a type of reading glasses that's really from the 50s, you know what I mean? It has no fashion and it's not you and you have no use from it. So then then it might be just you just like carrying it if it has no use. Say it again. Right, you have to. You cannot keep it. No, but that's not wearing it. That's not called wearing it. And if it's jewelry, you wear jewelry on a string. You have a nice piece of jewelry, you wear a necklace. But that it's not just. But it's not jewelry. It has to serve either it's fashion. If it's done if you or if you're having right. So tissues is if you're going into a public domain, it's carrying. You're carrying tissue. So if you're in a place that is an eruv, then you have no problem. But not every place has an eruv. Not every place, not every place is eruv USA. There's something called Mikvah USA, trying to bring mikvah to all over many places. But not every place has an eruv. So you could go ahead and carry. Let's say in my neighborhood, Lower East Side, we don't put tissues in our. We don't carry tissues. We don't carry anything in our pockets. You should know that the malacha of carrying is most probably the most maybe most difficult because people don't realize, they don't think they're doing anything. I got a tissue in my pocket. I go out in the street. What am I really doing? But you're carrying. And if you note that in Masechta Shabbat has many chapters in Masechta Shabbat, over 20 chapters in the Gemara. And what do you think the first thing that's discussed in the tractate of Masechta Shabbat? Carrying. That is the first thing that's discussed. And one of the commentators point out because that's the thing that the average person doesn't think I'm doing anything. Right? I got my tissues in my pocket. What am I doing?
What if you live in an apartment and you live alone and you have to lock your door?
Right. So what we do, we got a Shabbat lock on our door that you just press. You press in. You press. Those.
You cannot do it on it's not your door.
Right. So what people do is they made a tie clip. They made a key, and they use it as a tie clip. They put on the tie. And what other people do is for a belt, they use it as a part of a belt. This comes out, and they put the key in here, and the key is serving the belt. And if it's not serving anything, then it's called carrying, right? Like I said, if I wrap the key around my neck and I just use it as a necklace, it's not a necklace. It's not beautiful. But if I go ahead and some people might also do something. They might make a pin, something nice, fashionable. Some ladies that they're creative. They're creative with doing it, that it should have some sort of fashion or some sort of use of the tie clip or some sort of belt clip. There's many options for what people do. If you own your apartment, your condo, so you have no problem. You just make a little shop. You call the guy, the locksmith, makes a Shabbos lock, and you just boom, 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 make a little 1, 2, 3 code, whatever. You press a button, and then it opens. That's the best way that's the easiest way to. Some people hide their key under a mat or something. There are many different things that people do to make sure that they don't carry the key. At the end of the day, if we understand what the issue is, we'll try to work on figuring out how to deal with it in a very responsible fashion. But we have to understand what the issue is. Okay, so now with all that being said, with that backdrop, if a guy by mistake, it was the holiday, and there was a time period that you have the mitzvah to go ahead and do the mitzvah of lulav on Shabbat, let's say in a time period that they took the lulav on Shabbat, the first day of the Yom Tov came out on Shabbat. We said that in the time of the Beit HaMikdash, they would actually take the lulav on Shabbat, the first day. They were, like we said, they would bring it to the synagogue before Shabbat. But if they forgot and they went ahead and they, by mistake, because they were so involved in the mitzvah, they went out and they carried it in the street. They went ahead, they went to the rabbi to teach them how to say the bracha. Oh, what am I doing? How did I go in the street with my lulav? The rabbi to teach me how to say the bracha, but I carried. I did a sin, and now I have to go ahead. Now, do I have to bring a korban chatat? Do I have to bring a sin offering? Generally, if a person goes ahead and he makes a fire on Shabbat, gets up at 2:00 in the morning, on Shabbat, and he turns on the water to heat up a coffee, a tea. But that's a violation. You can't put on the water, right? So now, so in general, if a person wakes up in the middle of the night and he puts on the fire, so he violated the Shabbat unintentionally. So what's the law for violating Shabbat unintentionally? There's something called the Korban Chatat. Has to bring a sin offering because he did a sin, even though it was unintentionally. Unintentional sin is still a sin. If you unintentionally hit somebody, your car hit somebody, you still hit the guy. Might not have intended to do it, but you still something was done here, right? So same too. If you by mistake you forgot it was Shabbat, there's two cases to bring a korban chatat. One case is I forgot it was Shabbat, or I knew it was Shabbat. I did not know I can't open a fire on Shabbat. I didn't know I can't heat up the water on Shabbat. So those two cases would obligate me to bring a korban offering. But the Gemara says, this opinion says, if I made the mistake as a result of being involved in the mitzvah, and that was helped make the mistake because I was Yom Tov, I was busy with the mitzvah, and then I forgot. That opinion holds you don't have to bring a korban chatat under such circumstances. Yes.
Springs expensive.
Right. So you right. So that now the question is you're not that's heating up by itself, right? You're not involved in heating it up. The only thing is you have to just know if when you press anything, there's any are you causing any electric to if not, then it's fine. But it's just like having hot water. And now you just have to just be aware you can't, certain things you can't do with hot water on Shabbat. I can't go ahead and take tea leaves and put tea leaves, just cook up the tea leaves with hot water. There's a way. I can't take if I take tea leaves and I put the hot water onto the tea leaves. I'm cooking the tea leaves. So there's a way to make the tea in a kosher fashion. That it's not that I'm not, I don't put the water directly onto the tea leaves. I might put the water into one. I put the water into one cup, and I pour that cup into another second cup, and then I put the tea leaves into that second cup. That would be the way technically I can make tea on Shabbat. Good morning, because tea leaves is something that was not cooked before. It's raw, right? Right. So also the issue would be if you have coffee beans, fresh coffee beans. Right. So it's a coffee that's much better because it's already cooked. So then there's this, how to make that coffee. Best thing, even I say for all those things, best is to do it to make the coffee that way also. But just best is to pour the water into a cup, take that cup into another cup, and then put the tea leaf in there. And I think it's good to train you in all things. That's how to do it. But okay, I want to get ready for the prayer, everybody. I don't want to be late. Thank you for coming.
So what about if you carry snacks for someone else?
No, you can't carry snacks. In a place where there's no Eruv, you can't carry anything.
Did no one ever try to put that rule in the city?
I mean, there are. I mean, supposedly, there is an Eruv in this area. Whether people use it or not is a different question.
Yeah.
This area. How you see some people use the Eruv here, some people don't, right?
I guess, yeah, right. 100%.